like. She'd retired, she lived in her home, and now she not only made food every day, but she ate a lot of food and developed type 2 diabetes when I was about 9 years of age. I watched my grandmother die from diabetes because she did not choose to change her lifestyle when she was diagnosed. She did not choose to manage her disease, and I watched her die as a result. I wrote this book, Diabesity, when I was ending my American Diabetes Association presidency. Somebody asked me to write a book about how come there's a diabetes epidemic. We all knew what to do. There were a lot of how-to books once you got diabetes, but how come? So I talk about all of these changes, how our lives across the world and across the centuries and eons have changed, and how that's led us to the scourge of obesity, inactivity, leading to health consequences. I don't know if any of you dream about writing a book. I was actually written a bunch of textbooks. Those are easy. You know, words nobody can understand, tables nobody wants to read, and then you sell it as a textbook. This I had to make understandable. So it's really the stories of my experience as a physician, as what I try to be as a coach, and the stories of the patients and the people I have met along the way in my career. It was a phenomenal experience. I got, pretty excited about it. You have to retreat inside. And let me suggest to any of you that if you have a book that you'd like to write, something really bubbling up inside of you, since this was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, I would suggest to you to let it out any other way than trying to write it as a book. So this is what the landscape looked like when I was born after World War II. My mother was a European. My father met during World War II, brought her back to this country. And we watched the world evolve. So that I remember when we went to the first fast food restaurant, my mother wouldn't even eat it. She wouldn't even let us out of the car. I remember our first TV dinner. Trying to figure out my poor mother's trying, how could I get food out of a box? What do I do with it now? And the fact that we started to live in the car, go places. And in the 1950s, there were 400 patents about food alteration. We call it preservation, we call it processing, call it whatever you want, but how do you take that chicken and make it into a nugget and freeze it and then transport it wherever you want and have it edible? So we had, or quasi-edible, we won't get into that. So we had changed the landscape, and as we did, what did we watch people do? The medical term is really pretty simple. We watched them fall out of energy balance. We're pretty simple organisms. We've got a function of the laws of physics. What you put in, what you expend. If they're not in balance, you either lose weight or you gain weight. When you lose weight, you lose fat. Sometimes you lose muscle too, but when you gain weight, you mainly gain fat. Mm-hmm. And where do people put that fat? They put it around their waist, and when that fat is there, it's not kind of like fat that you sit on, that's cushion. It's fat that is metabolically active and secretes things that interfere with how our bodies function and lead to disease. And in fact, when I do medical research, and now we're doing it across the globe, it's not easy to do a height and a weight on people out in rural India. All we have to do is measure their waist. It is the surrogate for how big a risk you have, whether you're going to drop dead of a heart attack, whether you're going to end up with diabetes or other obesity-related diseases. So that was the beginning, but what's happened in the last couple decades? This is how our children lead their lives. I will show you some surveys, but most children are not sure where their kitchen is in their own home. They know you get food from the back seat of the car and through a window. And they don't know what a portion is. We have so distorted portions that we've done some wonderful studies. You give a plate this big, you give a plate this big, whatever it is the kid feels the plate should be filled, and that's a portion. That's a mountain, that's not a portion. So our children have lost sight of how to eat well. Part of it is, there's still grandma who you gotta finish that plate. There's still adults who fill that plate with their own appetite in mind, not the fact that the child who's going to receive it is 3. And they want the child to finish the plate. And then there's so many distractions about sweetened beverages and other foods that just somehow have lost their nutrient quality. And that's what people are eating. And at the same time, our kids are watching TV, they're playing video games, they're sitting on some screen. I mean, the teenagers are like this all the time. And as a matter of fact, when you ask them something, you can see their fingers going while they're answering you with their own mouths. And we have fundamentally changed how our children live. So that's now. And what has this led to? Well, here's what a portion of French fries is now with portion distortion. Here's how we serve snacks. You know, I don't want to disparage the big stores where you drive up in your semi to load it. I never thought I'd go grocery shopping with a flat truck to be able to bring everything home. And you bring home this bag and you look at it and go, is that a portion? Or how many portions actually are in there and how do I figure that out? And you know, you just sit there at the TV and you put your hand in it and whatever comes out goes in your mouth and you just repeat that over and over again. And that's what our children are doing. And as a result, we are in the midst of an obesity epidemic. Here's soft drinks, and what's remarkable is as an organism, we don't need many extra calories every day to compound weight on us. So just to show you that 160 extra calories every day, that's a soda. That's a extra snack. That's a going to a fast food restaurant and getting supersized, if not more. Without changing the other side of the energy equation, at the end of a year, that's 17 pounds. And it just slipped by. You didn't even know it was there. It just went down the gullet and made it to your waist and started deteriorating your health before you were even cognizant of what was happening. So our lifestyle for children, on a typical day in this country, a child eats in a third of children eat in a fast food restaurant. They get these extra calories because, they dip the fries first in sugar. They taste better. They added whatever it took to get that to be the most delicious, desirable, and purchased meal that they could imagine. Teens consume most of their carbohydrate now as sweetened added beverages. Sodas, why not? When I went, and I appreciate that plug about the soda ban in LA Unified, it took 7 years to get that accomplished. When we went, the reason we really got so involved is the average teenage boy in high school was drinking 3 sodas in school a day. Wow. Not only was that a lot of money, but that was, and a couple after school, some of them were having soda for breakfast. And it just didn't seem right. Mainly it didn't seem right because of all the additives, all the sodium, all the caffeine. When you read that label, there's actually nothing in it that we need. So we kind of felt compelled as healthcare providers, as health advocates in the city of Los Angeles to really fight to get those out of the environment. Because after all, what do we say school is, right? It's a place to learn. It's a place to thrive. It's a place to develop. And it's a place upon which we build for the rest of our lives. So if we can't get physical activity and all we give is sodas, then why wouldn't we have the scourge of diabetes and obesity? And then at the other time, 3 hours of TV on average, that's all screen time a day. I'm not that smart, but if you wake up in the morning and you go to school and you do your homework, where's another 3 hours of screen time every day? Well, somehow our children manage to do it. Part of it is because a third of children in this country, 2 to 7 years of age, actually have a TV in their bedroom. And you can see 2/3 older children have a TV in their bedroom. I would ask each one of you, do your kids have a TV in their bedroom? No. And if they do, what's it doing in there other than being turned on and giving them not only sedentary